If I see another farmer on TV crying and whining about their situation, I'm going to go insane. Let's get into it.
Who aren't feeling Trump's optimism right now are American farmers, and they are stuck in the middle of all of this.
Frank, who did you vote for president?
Mr. Trump.
Right?
Trump. Mr. Trump.
If the election were today, Frank, would you vote for Donald Trump?
No way. Couldn't happen. No.
Yeah,
You voted
farmers.
for
I
president.
love farmers. I won 80%, 85% of the farmers, and I love them, and I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers.
The result of the tariffs has been devastating for soybean farmers in particular. Currently, 25% of our soybeans grown in the United States goes to China. Right now, China has purchased 0 soybeans. We want to deliver the message to President Trump and his leadership team that we need trade. He's mentioned many times that he loves farmers. Right now, we need to see swift action, or we're going to lose a lot of these farmers that the president loves.
I want to talk about something that's not talked about that much. All these farmers, I don't know, 70, 80% of them vote for Trump. They got bailed out again. These guys get to be racist f***ing assholes and vote for Trump even though it's going to hurt their business, and then call everybody else socialist and then get bailed out by us. If you know a farmer that voted for Trump and got help with the government, ridicule that f*** out of them. I'm sick of these f***, man. You know, they can't sell their crops to China anymore, but at least trans people are scared, right? E-I-E-I-O. F*** American right-wing farmers. F*** you. This is from me and this is from the heart. You put us through the misery of having a racist asshole in charge, and you get bailed out both times. That's how much of a piece of shit you are. You know he hurts your bottom line, but you'll know you'll be bailed out. F*** MAGA farmers.
What we need is trade and opportunity. Right now, we're at a 20% price disadvantage to the tariffs and the trade war to our counterparts in South America, and that just makes us uncompetitive and makes us lose the market, and we need a change, and we need it now.
American farmers have destroyed themselves by voting for this Trump regime. Their hate for so many groups of people that they have learned to demonize allowed them to vote themselves out of business by voting for Donald Trump and today's MAGA Republicans. I don't know what else to say.
Y'all are kidding me if y'all tell me the farmers who voted for this are gonna need a bailout. Y'all voted for the deportation of the migrants that work at your farms. You voted for the deportation of the migrants, the immigrant labor that work at your farms. So as a taxpaying American, I do not support giving you a dime of my taxpaying dollars because y'all wanted this. You wanted the immigrants out your country. So why would we bail out the farms? For what? Because China don't want to buy your soybeans? Y'all voted for this. Remember farmers? Farmers of America? Republicans? Yeah, y'all voted for the immigrants to be taken out the country, and now y'all ain't got nothing and your farms are struggling. Whose fault is that? And as an American who bailed out the car companies, I don't want to bail out the farmers. Fuck it. And Democrats, let the government shut the fuck down. Shut it down. Let it shut down. You ain't got no responsibilities here. You're not in office. You're not in power. You ain't got shit to do but sit and wait.
Newsmax brought a farmer on to praise Donald Trump's bailout plan. Instead, he tore Donald Trump apart. Now, as you know, right now, Donald Trump's tariffs are destroying farmers. China has not bought a single soybean this quarter, and they're our largest export market. And farmers are hurting, and Donald Trump has a plan to send them some of the tariff money. Well, Newsmax brought a farmer on to praise those tariffs, but it went a little differently than planned.
I'm paying that tariff because my importer, John Deere, paid it. They paid it directly to the Treasury. Now, the President of the United States is going to take my money and give it back to me and call it a bailout? That's just comical.
Yeah. They're going to take my money. My inputs have been raised. I'm paying these tariffs. You're giving me my money back and you want me to thank you? Newsmax tried to get praise for Dear Leader. Instead, it backfired beautifully. And that is well done by this farmer. Donald Trump is doing nothing to help them, only hurt them, and even they are calling it out.
For centuries, white farmers have always voted red, always supported people on the Red Party, claiming that this is actually the side that understood them, the values and their systems of actually wanting to make America great again for the Americans. Well, imagine pouring your life's work into land, seed and machinery only to actually watch your business slip into insolvency, and then again your customer, your biggest customer, disappears because of too much tariffs, and your workers, who are your only labor force, the only cheap labor force that you actually have access to, get arrested and deported. Why? Because you actually supported mass deportations for Latinos and undocumented immigrants. Well, as if that wasn't enough, to top it off, the guy that you actually helped put into office goes on and says, sorry, that's not my fault. That's exactly what's happening right now to many US farmers who actually wholeheartedly backed the orange man, thinking that he was going to make America great again for them. Actually, they voted for other people to suffer except them. Now, the problem is that the same very policies that they backed are now affecting them, and they're now sounding alarms, freaking out over farm bankruptcies and begging for government handout with American taxpayers' money. This is after not actually listening to black folks' warnings and people on the left. But let's take a look, guys. I'll be back with more commentary. Subscribe if you're new, hit that like button and engage with the video by dropping your opinion in the comment section below. Really helps with pushing this video to a wider audience. Hit the like button and comment. Let's take a look. I'll be back with more commentary.
American farmers have destroyed themselves by voting for this Trump regime. Their hate for so many groups of people that they have learned to demonize allowed them to vote themselves out of business by voting for Donald Trump and today's MAGA Republicans. I don't know what else to say. We already know how the American soybean farmer was decimated. This fall, China, their biggest customer, placed exactly 0 orders for soybeans from American farmers because of Donald Trump's regime's tariffs. They went to Brazil. We all saw the videos of the farmers crying in Arkansas, I believe it was. Please, Mr. President, we love you, but come save us. Oh, you guys, it just gets so much worse. So you know how our $20 billion in taxes, yours, Mr. Farmer, and mine, was just snatched from us and given to the leader of Argentina to help keep their version of Donald Trump in power? Your 20 billion and my 20 billion? This was screenshot on our Department of Treasury's cell phone from our Department of Agriculture. Ready? Finally, just a heads up, I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate, the text said. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines are removing their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices are dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us. And he responds, Besant responds, on a plane, Scott, but I'll call you when I land. You guys voted for this. The Democrats, who y'all hate so much, you've been programmed to hate your fellow neighbor, your family members. You guys voted for this. We warned all of you because we're not in a cult. We could see how these decisions affect businesses, affect our farmers. We were fighting for farmers, telling you don't vote for this, and you voted for this. Your tax dollars, this Trump administration just used to fuck you even further, Mr. Soybean Farmer, and grains. This affects a lot of other farmers, not just soybean farmers. Anybody who harvests and sells grains to China. you go.
So I saw that the soybean farmers in the state of Arkansas are having a find out phase. And you know what I hate to say? I told you so. No, seriously, I'm really sick and tired of the fact that the left keeps having to say, I told you so. Because we didn't want anybody to suffer, okay? We voted for everybody to survive and thrive. And you voted for the suffering of other people, and here we are. You are actually the one who is paying the price and suffering. Because you can't sell your soybeans to China because what's that? Tariffs. You can't get that new farming equipment that you needed because of why? Tariffs. Didn't the experts tell you that? Didn't people warn you this would happen? But no, you let your internalized hate, racism, and misogyny override literal facts that were right there in front of your face that made you vote against your own best interests. And here you are, expecting a government bailout yet again. You didn't want anybody else to get government bailouts. That's socialism, and you don't like that. So what makes you so different and so deserving when you voted against government money going to anybody who has stumbled upon a hard time? Why do you get it? What makes you better than other people? Again, I don't like that we are having to say, I told you so. Okay, I wanted you to do well. I wanted you to survive and thrive. But this is what you voted for.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I need you blue state liberals to stop calling the farmers who voted for their own personal financial ruin stupid. It's infantilizing. They aren't stupid. To actually manage a farm effectively requires insane depths of knowledge in math, science, logistics. These people aren't dumb. But what they are learning, for I think in some cases the first time in their lives, is how expensive racism is. They heard Trump loud and clear when he said that he would deport their labor force and that he would tariff essentially all of the inputs they need to run their facilities. And they absolutely heard him when he claimed over and over again that the US gave too much to the world in aid, and therefore those aid streams, which most often include the food these farmers grow, would be cut. They heard it all. They just didn't believe it. They thought this was just Trump 1.0 and there would be enough adults in the room to say, hey, this is reckless. We can't do this because it will dismantle the economy. Yeah, a lot of farmers were hurt during the first Trump administration. Thanks to his reckless trade wars, particularly with China, a lot of them went bankrupt. And the bailouts that originally happened under Trump's first term didn't mostly even go to these small-scale farmers. It ended up going to big agribusiness. And I have a feeling, if past is prologue, we're going to see that happen again if bailouts happen at all. Because the reality is these people do not actually want to save these small-scale farms. People in this admin, like J.D. Vance, very specifically invested in things like Acre Trader. Their goal is for these farmers to go bankrupt so that they can consolidate, buy up huge swaths of their land, and make a fortune. So I'm not gonna lie to you, there is very little incentive for anybody in this administration to actually give these farmers a bailout, no matter how angry and white and male they are. I doubt there are any farmers listening to this at the moment, but the billionaires do not care about you. They actually just want to take your stuff. So even if a bailout does come, and I doubt an effective one will, but if it does, it is going to be meager enough to keep these people in dire financial straits. Because the goal of a lot of these billionaires and investment firms is to make them desperate enough to sell. So you can say goodbye to small-scale family farms, that's for sure. What's kind of funny about this is that Let's Go Brandon tried to bail you out for real. And that's probably the last time anyone will, so.
Remember when President Donald Trump said the tariffs are going to be eliminating the federal income tax and all this extra money is going to start flowing to Americans? Well, now he wants to use that money for the farmers. This tariff money, he wants to make sure that he can give it out to the farmers because they're hurting right now. You still waiting on that Doge check too? I'm curious because everything President Donald Trump has said, it's not happening. Only the mean stuff is, which his base like all that. Because remember, it doesn't matter that it's hurting them. Well, it is in a way. They just didn't necessarily 100% expect it. What matters to them is when they voted because they were told it was going to hurt somebody else that didn't look like them, talk like them, work like them, do things the way they do things, pray like them. I can go on and on, couldn't I? Let me know if you're still waiting on your Doge check or when them American relief tariff funds start flowing.
Good morning. Got a little farming news for y'all. You may or may not know China is the United States' biggest customer for our soybean crop. We need trade deals with them pretty bad because they buy the biggest majority of our soybeans. Argentina and Brazil, down in South America, they're our biggest competitor in soybeans and corn. Sometimes they'll raise 2 or 3 crops of corn. They always raise a big soybean crop. But Argentina is a huge competitor for the United States. Well, this week, Argentina lifted a tax, a commodities export tax. I don't know the exact name of what it was. They lifted a tax on exporting commodities, grains, stuff like that. Well, in 2 days' time, China made a really good business deal. They bought 84 million bushels of soybeans from Argentina. That's 30 cargo ships worth in 2 days' time. Good business move by China. Don't blame them at all there. Well, in the meantime, Argentina stopped that, put tax back on because they hit their quota. Well, last night there was some kind of meeting. I don't know what all went down, but I know the biggest part of it that went down. The Argentina economy is pretty horrible. The peso is way below the dollar right now. They done a deal with the United States for some kind of line swap, pretty much a loan. The United States is about to send $20 billion to Argentina. Argentina is going to send $20 billion worth of their peso, which is not worth the same amount as our dollar is. So we're getting kind of the raw end of the deal on that one. And another thing about Argentina, they're not the best in the business about paying their bills back. They're kind of like your sister's boyfriend that don't got no job and don't really like to pay for nothing and rides off of everybody else. That's kind of the way Argentina is. We just sent them $20 billion. All the while, they're sending tax-free China 84 million bushels of soybeans. That don't make much sense. That's kind of like wiping before you poop. Why would you help out your biggest competition and hurt yourself with your biggest customer? I don't understand the deal. I don't know what's going on. I ain't trying to make this political. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you voted for Trump, if you didn't vote for Trump, even if you did, there comes a time you need to start holding people accountable. I don't understand what's going on, but they need to get their head out of their rear end and start helping out the United States and their farming economy before they go to helping South America and other farming economies. I don't know. That don't make a lot of sense to me, but hey, that's just, it bees like that sometimes. You'll have that on them big jobs, but that's the big news.
Farmers across the country have started going on TV and complaining, 1, about Donald Trump's tariffs, 2, about the trade war with China, and 3, that they're not able to sell their products. Specifically, soybean farmers who are looking at losing $300 per acre of crops this year. So on a 1,000-acre soybean field, they're looking at losing $300,000. That's because China has not put in an order for soybeans in this quarter alone. They haven't put in an order of soybeans from American farmers since April, which means there's nothing being sold from the United States to China when it comes to soybeans. Where's China going? To Argentina, to Brazil. What's the United States doing? They're bailing out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion while ignoring farmers in the United States. And these farmers are now saying, we don't want a bailout. We need a trade deal. Because since Donald Trump's first term, our profits are down 50% because he keeps screwing with our trade to foreign countries. We need Donald Trump to actually uphold his promises and quit screwing around. We need him to stop telling us that he's going to give us back our money, the money we spent on tariffs. We need him to keep his word, to make a trade deal, and to quit screwing up our free markets.
Alright guys, there you have it. Actually, it's not always good to actually vote against someone just because you don't like them, thinking that the policy is only exclusively going to affect them, especially in a government setup, in a national setup, because by doing that, you actually forget that everything is actually connected. The economy is connected. How can you be blind not to realize that you actually got your own labor force? 98% of your own labor force is comprised of undocumented labor. Yet you go ahead and vote for deportation policies, which are now hurting your farms, causing your crops to actually rot in the farms. Leave alone that, you went ahead and supported the tariff policies, thinking that they were going to punish China and bring you money and make you great. Well, you are only a Google search away from understanding how tariffs works, because tariffs are paid by the importing companies, and there is no way another country is gonna sit down and relax as tariffs are actually being slapped on them, especially not China, the second biggest economy in the world, the largest actually producing economy in the world, because everything, man, comes from China. Now, I don't know what to say, man. Is this because of ignorance? Is this because of too much hatred and racism that you went ahead and voted against your best interest, or what is it actually that made you guys to go ahead and vote the way you did? Because now you guys are actually hurting. Now, after too much pressure from tariffs, markets actually are collapsing, because, for instance, China, which used to be the US's biggest buyer of soybeans, has now in 2025 bought 0 new crops of soybeans in the US, and that means massive inventory piling up, low commodity prices, no market for your yield. Other crops actually are even rotting in the farms because the biggest buyer just said no thank you. Because of what? Because you chose actually to put a convicted felon into office, someone who actually bankrupted his own businesses. Now he's actually going ahead and bankrupting your own businesses, your own farms. Now you want to come and beg for bailout, sounding the alarm and begging for government handout from American taxpayers. This is after not listening to people who are screaming to the top of and loudest of their voices, trying to warn you all back in November, but you didn't want to listen. You were all chanting "Make America Great Again." That was the initiative, bring back the jobs at home. I don't know what jobs you are thinking, and I don't know how you actually went ahead. I could understand you not understanding the tariffs. I can give that away, but I cannot understand you actually voting for deportation policies, because this man never lied to you. He told you that he was going to hold deportations from day one. Yet you knew that the biggest and largest source of cheap labor that you guys were depending on, that was a lifeline for your own businesses, was these same Latino workers, these same illegal immigrants. Yet you went ahead and voted for that. Who did you think actually was going to work for your firms? Did you think that you are going to replace them with people of color? No thank you. That can never happen. It already happened once in history, and I can tell you for free that if you're a smart guy, you would actually understand that, no person of color was actually going to do that. Black Americans ain't gonna do that. They are not up to that. Now, you guys are suffering. You are freaking out, panicking, meeting in town halls, crying to your representatives, meeting in churches, crying on social media platforms of how the orange man is actually betrayed your trust after putting him in office. All these red states that actually depend largely on the farming economy are being hit. They are being hit hard, and this is exactly what you voted for, and it's exactly what you are actually getting. You F around, you find out, and that's really funny because you're begging for handouts, yet the man that you actually put in office, the orange man, is giving a $20 billion bailout to Argentinian soybean farmers, the second competitor, the second largest competitor after Brazil, is being bailed out while you guys are still there crying. This is exactly what you're getting. It's exactly what you wanted for. And it's a good thing that most of the American population doesn't actually consume what you're producing. Most of your cash crops, soybean, is actually being exported. And that actually might be a good thing, because Americans won't have to bail you out directly because they don't need your crop. You actually need that country that you called the villain, that country, in Asia that you wanted to punish with tariff to actually bail you out now. Well, it is what it is. You got exactly what you voted for. I'm a presenter, Profess. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit that like button. Really helps with pushing this video to a wider audience. And as always, see you on the next episode.